All right, the final redraft of this series where we can see just how drastically things could change for the Cleveland Browns if they made other selections. Now, if you have not watched one of these redrafts, understand that I'm not just doing a fantasy redraft. I'm not just sorting by PFF grade and saying that's who the Browns should have drafted. I am trying to take account for the type of positions, players, fits that the Cleveland Browns were looking for at that time, some of their age guardrails, and what kind of positions they were bringing in over that 4-year period. Also, not going to just reach for a player who went super late in the draft because they turned out to be pretty good and just using 100% hindsight. I'm trying to select players who are within about 30 picks of the original selection just to keep it more realistic. So with all that aside, here are the results of the redrafts that I've done. I'm going to put them on screen here with some music. And then after that, I'm going to put on how it's changed the lineup over the last 3 years, just in case you missed it. So here that is. And now we're on to 2023. Now, in the 2023 draft, the Browns originally started off by selecting Cedric Tillman. I still have them going Cedric Tillman here because Mooney's going to be coming up off of his rookie deal here soon. I think the Browns want to upgrade from that Z wide receiver position with somebody a little bit bigger, faster, stronger. And Cedric Tillman in a couple of years, they feel like could be that. So, yes, they drafted Mooney. That should mean that they don't draft that many wide receivers, but I think they're going to be looking to replace Mooney because remember, Mooney was in that 2020 draft. So we're at 2023. We're getting at the end of his rookie deal, which is crazy to say that this project is encapsulating that amount of time, but I think that's fun. All right, here's the most un-Quincy-like selection of all time. Pick round 3, pick 98. The Browns originally selected Siaki Ika here. Now, you would know I wasn't a fan of this pick. And maybe this pick was always cursed for me because I was never going to be a fan of this pick. Because in the redraft, remember the Browns took a kicker the year before. I took that out the redraft. But eventually I got to take a kicker, right? Jake Moody is the selection there, right? The kicker that the San Francisco 49ers selected. But that's who the Browns in this redraft would take. This makes sense. They were going to take a kicker eventually. As much as I hate the ideal of drafting kickers, if I can retroactively put the one guy who's worked out for them as the kicker they select, then I will do that. All right, round 4, pick 111. They took DeJuan Jones. They take DeJuan Jones again. I can't imagine them passing on the value that was DeJuan Jones in the 4th round. 4th round, pick 126, where they went Isaiah McGuire. I have them taking Isaiah McGuire again. This is somebody who has, developed into what we hope to be a starter at this point in his career. I think that pick will work out for Cleveland, or at least work out as much as a 4th round pick works out for Cleveland. Here's another interesting change, right? Dorian Thompson-Robinson was originally picked 140. Yeah, 140 for the Cleveland Browns. Remember, I took Brock Purdy in the 7th round last year. Now, Brock Purdy doesn't play in the 2022 regular season, but I think Brock Purdy makes it clear enough that he showed enough potential in training camp and in the preseason that it probably dissuades the Browns from wanting to take Dorian Thompson-Robinson here. They feel like they got something in Brock Purdy. And that means they go and they take Puka Nacua with that selection. 5th round, pick 140. Puka Nacua instead of Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I think we'll all take that. And remember, they got Cedric Tillman. They got Puka Nacua coming up. St. Brown's going to be coming up for an extension, Amari Cooper. So you got a wide receiver core that's going to be good for a very, very long time here. Fifth round, 142. Is that 142? Yes, 142. They originally took Cam Mitchell. Cam Mitchell's a fine player, but I have him taking Henry Tuatu. I know I mispronounced that. Somebody please give me a phonetic pronunciation of that in the comment section below. I think it's Tohu. I don't know. I don't want to play around with that man's last name like that. But 142, linebacker, pretty good starter. Somebody who could play for them consistently and add some depth there. Not really a life-changing selection there. And then at pick 190, Luke Whippler was the original selection. I'll have them keeping Luke Whippler at this point because that's the pick that made the most sense for the Cleveland Browns at that time. So the most interesting part for this redraft is not going to be what the Browns do with the selection. Yes, Puka Nacua is fun, and we can speculate on if the Browns drafted Puka Nacua here. One thing I am noticing is like, hey, look, the Browns were looking for a wide receiver these last 4 years. There's been wide receivers there in these draft classes at pretty reasonable places to go get them, right? This is not one of those positions where it's been a difficult one to fill because all of the demand is taken up early in the draft. Ironically enough, the Browns have capitalized on one of the positions I think has been more scarce in these 4 years, which is corner. There's been very scarce pickings at corner and linebacker. They've been able to do fine at those positions. The one place where there's been a more hurting yields of players available. I don't mean to compare them to farming or anything like that, but it's been the one position they haven't been able to fill for whatever reason. So, we call it bad luck, bad scouting, whatever it is. Wide receiver should be better than what it is, but they have done better at corner and linebacker than they really should have ever been. But that's a whole nother discussion for a side. The interest in this redraft isn't about how this draft is going to affect the starting lineup. The interest in this redraft, at least for me, is how the 2022 draft affects the 2023 season because they took Brock Purdy. Now, again, Brock Purdy wasn't going to play in 2022 for the Cleveland Browns. The opportunity was never going to present itself. Jacoby Brissett was always going to be a starter, and then they were going to transition to Deshaun Watson. They weren't interested in benching Jacoby Brissett at any point, and they're not going to bench Deshaun Watson right after they traded for him. 2023 is a different beast. If you remember, the Browns went into the 2023 season with Dorian Thompson-Robinson as the backup to Deshaun Watson because of how DTR looked in the preseason. I imagine Brock Purdy looks just as good as DTR in preseason and in training camp, if not much better than DTR in that scenario. So that means that when DTR gets into the game or gets into the season, what was it, game 4 of the season? Yeah, against Baltimore. That will now be Brock Purdy. Now, Brock Purdy, much better player than Dorian Thompson-Robinson, probably beats the Baltimore Ravens or at least puts up a better fight than Dorian Thompson-Robinson did, given how good that Cleveland Browns team ended up being. Remember, it's a Browns team that beat Baltimore in Baltimore with Deshaun Watson, injured half the game. So it's a really good Cleveland team that year. Didn't play well because Dorian wasn't good enough to take that role, but imagine they had a more capable quarterback. That's the case. Now, Deshaun did not come back until the Indianapolis game in the original timeline, right? And even then, he only played a quarter, and then he didn't come back again until the Arizona game where he did look much more healthy. I would imagine if Brock Purdy is much more competent than like P.J. Walker and Dorian Thompson-Robinson, which I have no reason to believe that wouldn't be the case, you're going to see Brock Purdy play against Baltimore, play against San Francisco, play against Indy, play against Seattle. Now, here's the thing. The Browns went 2-2 in that stretch, which is incredible, right? Because that was a hell of a stretch in 2023, but in a credit to the defense. Maybe you still lose that Baltimore game because Baltimore did beat you 28-3, but you still beat San Francisco considering that they're probably starting Jimmy Garoppolo still. And you got the better quarterback. And then Indianapolis, you still win that game. And that Seattle game, remember, the Browns really should have won that game, but they threw an interception late. It was tough. P.J. Walker was starting that game. If it's Brock Purdy instead of him, you probably go 3-1 during that stretch. And then Deshaun comes back, plays against Arizona, looks good against Arizona, plays against Baltimore, wins that game, season's over. So Brock Purdy has started 4 games already and then plays the rest of the season. So instead of it being, 2 games here for DTR, 6 games here for Joe Flacco, 6 games here for Deshaun, we really can't tell anything with that sample size. We're talking about 4 starts already for Brock Purdy. After the Baltimore game, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 starts for the Cleveland Browns, for Brock Purdy there. And the numbers would probably be pretty good. The win-loss record would be excellent. And the situation is a lot different. Instead of talking about should the Browns bring back a 40-year-old quarterback to compete with their starter, the conversation is, hey, this rookie looks amazing. Deshaun Watson just injured his throwing shoulder. Should we go back to Deshaun? And it's a much more real conversation because Brock Purdy's cheap. Brock Purdy is on the roster. And it's 13 games of seeing this guy play this well. Remember what Brock Purdy's numbers were in our original timeline with the San Francisco 49ers. Now imagine that with the offense that has Worse, Bitonio, Tyler Biadasz, Taylor Conklin, David Njoku, Chubb and Algier, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Amari Cooper, and Puka Nacua. The main criticism of Brock Purdy is that he's relying on his weapons. Well, look at the weapons. So he's probably going to be pretty good with this team. And let's say Watson performs similarly to how he did in the 2023 season, which I don't think was bad, but Purdy probably outperforms those numbers on a statistical basis, on average and cumulatively. What does the conversation then become? Do you stick with Deshaun? Do you go with Purdy? Obviously, the Browns invested too much money to just bench Deshaun outright. But if you're the Browns, do you go and take the step that they took in 2023's offseason of changing the offense over to a Deshaun Watson-style offense in the same way that they did? Because you're not cutting bait of Brock Purdy. Or do you trade Brock Purdy to build around Deshaun Watson? Or do you trade Deshaun Watson to build around Brock Purdy? I don't know what you would get for Watson at that time, but it'd be more than what you could get for him now. Because there was still a thought that Deshaun could get healthy, look good, because he looked fine in 2023. Had a good win-loss record. Overall was over 500, right? 2024 ended his career. That's how bad that season went. But before that season, he had a career. How much does Brock Purdy wreak havoc on the 2023 scenario in a good way, right? Going into 2024, I think there's something there. If we look at defense, the Browns add AWOL next to JOK, and not much really changes outside of that. They still bring in Dalvin Tomlinson, Jonathan Grenard, Mike Clemens. It's a pretty solid defense. It's a really good defense, actually. But the Brock Purdy question is the one that's pertinent, right? Like, what if you had a rookie in there or a young player in there that was capable of taking over the team from week 4 on? How much does that change? If we're talking about instead of 6 starts where somebody looks decent, we're talking about 13 starts where somebody looks excellent and a better fit for this offense than Deshaun. It would be a monstrous offseason because we would be having that debate. And honestly, I don't know where people would be on that debate. I know a lot of people would be anti-Watson at that point, and I think this would be a lot of momentum for the anti-Watson people. Like, look, guys, we got our exit hatch right here. Brock Purdy has appeared. We got lucky. We need to just roll with this guy. And like, do the Browns go further in the playoffs because they got Brock Purdy now? And because they have Brock Purdy, do the Browns go to the conference championship game? Like, think about how good that defense was, man. That defense was incredible in 2023. So if they had, like, competent quarterback play, it's not the craziest thing in the world to imagine. Do you bench Brock Purdy? But like, it's not like Deshaun was benchable at that point. And you pay $230 million for him. Or do you just eat it and say, hey, look, we're paying that much for a backup, but we're really just paying a lot for the room? That, to me, what if the Browns took Brock Purdy? It's a fascinating scenario for me because it all plays out in a way where Brock Purdy's absolutely going to get a chance in the 2023 season. I see there's no way he doesn't get a chance in 2023. And like, remember, 2023, Brock Purdy for most of the season, a lot of people had on the MVP list. I didn't, but a lot of people did it. So like, he was playing really good football. And again, you can say it's because of the situation he had in San Francisco. In this redraft, it's a similar situation. And also remember, the Browns, instead of having to default to like Jerome Ford and Pierre Strong in their run game because Nick Chubb gets hurt in 2023, they got Tyler Algier and Khalil Herbert, which is a solid 1-2 running back combo. What do you do? I would love to put this into the Futurama what if machine and just see what happens. Like, just change that right there. Just the Browns get Brock Purdy in the 7th round. They say, let's take him. What goes down after that? Because you're gonna get rid of your $230 million quarterback because of 7th round pick? It's hard to believe. But are you gonna say that you don't want that level of quarterback play? And does that shorten the leash of Deshaun? Does somebody request a trade? Like something that this is where the timeline becomes absolutely different. Okay. This is where we become incapable of having redraft scenarios at this point. Is after this year. This is where it breaks, right? This is where the multiverse falls apart. Because that right there breaks it all. Like, I don't know what happens. Keep in mind, like, what the perception of the Browns would be completely different if Brock Purdy emerges during 2023, because that was the year where, the Browns, people were still giving this a shot. They were a really good team. If they have the replacement for Baker Mayfield, as Baker Mayfield emerges with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it doesn't become this whole narrative that it's become now, right? Because the Browns have a quarterback. The question is, are they going to play that guy? It's fascinating. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. What kind of havoc do you think having a second-year Brock Purdy in 2023 does to the Cleveland Browns, in a good way or in a bad way? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.